Answering a table topics question at a Toastmasters meeting is one of the most difficult parts of Toastmasters in general, of all aspects. And in this video, I am going to give you a live example of me answering a table topics question at my local club in British Columbia, Canada. And I will tell you, it was not an easy question. Hey everyone, my name is Wade Patterson and I am passionate about impactful communication. It is my goal through this YouTube channel to help educate you and show you ways that you can be a more powerful communicator, which will assist you in your personal life and in your business life. It is one of those skills that is so important. Thank you for taking the time to hop onto this video. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel. There are many more videos just like this. As I mentioned, this video is all about showing you a live example of a real table topics question I received recently at my club. But I actually have another video that dives into considerations to make when answering a table topics question and how you can prepare, which seems a little bit funny. How can you prepare for a question you don't know what it's going to be asked? That video gives you a few tips. So if you haven't already, after watching this video, hit that link in the description that's going to take you to that other video. And by watching this video, the live example, and the other video that goes more in depth, you're going to be completely prepared for your next table topics question. Now, I need to set up this live example that you're about to watch with a little bit of context because I didn't actually film the table topics master asking the question. So let me set it up because the question itself was, what did you think about the book, The Courage to Be Disliked? That's a book that I've never read, but thankfully the table topics master explained some of the themes of this book, and why she was bringing this in is that a club member in the previous meeting had talked about this was a powerful book that he was reading and encouraged others to read it. So our table topics master, the next meeting, she read it in that week, and then her question was based around the findings of the book. So that's a very complex question. And to add even more confusion onto this, I want to mention, because I reference it in my answer, that the question that was asked to a member before my question was, what is one word that you are using to describe your goals for 2023? What I ended up doing is taking that question and adjusting it and kind of giving a hybrid answer. So I kind of stole the previous question and incorporated it with my question. I know that's incredibly confusing, but this was the result. Enjoy this live example. Thank you for the question, Madam Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters in person and on Zoom. What are my thoughts on that? My first thought is, leading into the previous question about what the word was, it made me think about what my word is for 2023. And it's coincidental that you named the title of the book because the word that I chose was courageous. That's my goal, courage for 2023. It's pushing myself outside of the comfort zone. Little things. Some of you may have noticed I've hauled in a camera to Toastmasters meetings along with me. And I'll have to be honest, the first couple times I set it up and had the mic on, there was that nervousness, that self-consciousness of, well, what are people in the club going to think? Is it going to be distracting? All of those sorts of things. And there was a million reasons not to do it, but I knew that by being able to document some of my Toastmasters journey, taking on various roles, that this could be a helpful resource for other people online who have joined Toastmasters and want to learn how to do such things. I've also been pushing myself in other situations, stepping up for roles with work that otherwise other people probably would have taken on and that are a little bit outside my skill set. Therefore, the deep intention of the book that you referenced, of anger, my mind completely went a different way, but I think I'm answering the question because you wanted to know what thoughts I had around that, and that is that 2023 hopefully is going to be a year of courage for me. So thank you for the question. Well, there you have it. That was my table topics answer. Now let's dive into what I did well and what I could have improved on and should keep in mind for the next time I take on a table topics question. As I mentioned leading into that live example, the question I was asked was what I thought about a book that I had never read called The Courage to Be Disliked. Therefore, it was a tricky question for me to answer, but I sort of made it my own. And the point of that is table topics, the whole purpose, the reason we have it in Toastmasters is to practice impromptu speaking and answering a question on the fly. But the goal of it isn't necessarily to perfectly answer the question that is asked. I mean, that's the pinnacle. That's where you eventually want to get to. But your first target as a Toastmaster is simply to stand up and speak for 1 to 2 minutes and reference the question. But as long as you get through that 1 to 2 minutes standing in front of the audience, giving some sort of partially coherent answer, as far as I'm concerned, mission accomplished with the table topics piece at Toastmasters. I've been going to Toastmasters long enough that I expect myself to try to answer the question directly. And so this is maybe something I didn't do as well. I diverted a little bit and I turned the question into something that I knew I'd be able to speak about a little bit easier. But it just goes to show you and hopefully gives you some confidence for answering a table topics question that the real goal here is to simply speak for 1 to 2 minutes. And on the positive, that is something I definitely did. A second thing I felt like I did pretty well with that answer or response to the table topics question was eye contact. Initially, I made a lot of eye contact with the table topics master, but then I diverted that around the room and also acknowledged our guests who were tuning in on Zoom. A final thing that worked out well in that answer was my timing. It came in at 1 minute 40 seconds, which is pretty much as good as it gets for timing on a table topics question response. You have 1 to 2 minutes. I say anywhere from 1 minute 30 seconds to 1 minute 45 seconds is the sweet spot. Okay, now on to things that I didn't do so well. And the first was that I failed to use the word of the day, which in this meeting was asinine. Using the word of the day at a Toastmasters meeting is something you should strive to do in whatever role you're taking on. It's a great real-life challenge because at the beginning of the meeting, the grammarian presents you with a word and it forces you to think on the spot. Maybe you have a prepared speech. Of course, you haven't incorporated that word, but by understanding and being flexible enough to then take that word and inject it in your speech, that shows a lot of strength as a speaker. A real life application to that is perhaps you're at a conference and there's a theme that you find out. Maybe you brought in to be a speaker at this conference and then you learn when you arrive there's a particular theme about the conference. If you have that ability to take ideas or take words and inject them in your speech, now you can incorporate what the theme of the conference is, and it's going to be even that much more relatable for the audience. So on this particular instance, I really should have used the word asinine, but I failed to do that. A second area where I fell short here was on the structure. This response sort of went in a few different directions, but it didn't have a solid structure to it. Anytime we speak in front of a group of people, we want to structure our speech so that it has a solid opening, a middle or a body, and then a conclusion. And I always talk about this, but the most powerful speech structures are ones that come full circle. So the intro mentions something, and then the conclusion or the outro comes back and brings that full speech full circle. This particular response I delivered for the table topics question, I stood up, I got through it, but it didn't have a solid structure to it. It was a little bit all over the place. That is something I can improve in the future. Feedback I got at the end of the meeting from the counter was that I said an and an which I think was in this table topics response. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll have to go back and watch really carefully. But that was something that threw me completely off guard because usually I'm very good at not using crutch or filler words in my speech. But when I'm stuck, when I'm really thinking, those are the times those words creep in. That's definitely an area I want to smooth over in the future. The feedback I received from our general evaluator at the end of the meeting was that I did a good job answering a difficult question. She also appreciated that I mentioned the camera, the live example camera, because this is something I've been doing more recently at our Toastmasters meetings, and not all club members were fully aware of my purpose for recording myself speaking. She thought that was great to give the club that level of context. I hope this video live example of the table topics role has been helpful for you. Maybe it's given you a little bit of confidence to take on the role. And I kind of like that I used an example that wasn't a perfect polished answer. This was something where I got through it. I did a decent job, but it shows you that the real goal of a Toastmasters table topics response, and I've said this a few times throughout this video, but is to get through it, to stand up, to speak for 1 to 2 minutes. If you can do that, as far as I'm concerned, that is a massive skill. I've seen many Toastmasters enter the program, and it takes them maybe 6 months or a year to be able to stand up for that full minute. So if you are already at that level, way to go. You are well on your way. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. Tell people about it. If people are trying to learn about communications and you know that this could be a good resource for them, let them know about the channel, like, comment, do all of those things. Thank you for watching this video content, and I hope you have an awesome day. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are looking for a little bit of coaching help with your next speech, I am providing one-on-one evaluations. My contact email is in the video description. Reach out to me and let's discuss what that could look like.